Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another brand new Haolonggood release to check out. We did just have one a few days ago. We've got another one because they released this and the Dinosaurus very close to each other. But as you can see, we've got the Megalodon, and definitely a little bit of a different look as far as the packaging goes for this one. We've got a super cool, really impressive image of the Megalodon swimming here in the ocean on the front of the packaging. Of course, the Haolonggood logo, and then the species name. Up here on the top, you're going to see a very nice kind of checklist of a bunch of different figures that they have in their line. Most of them I've reviewed over the course of Haolonggood's history. Actually, I would say every single one except for the new paint variants of the Spinosaurus. I haven't actually taken a look at those yet because I don't own those two. But other than that, we have taken a look at all of the others. And you can see over here on the side, you can again see the Haolonggood logo, the ocean. And then when you turn it from side to side, you can see there's not much difference as far as the packaging goes. You can see my box has taken a bit of a beating though in transit, but regardless, I'm definitely excited to take a look at this because it's something a little bit different than what we've seen in the past from Haolonggood. We have yet to have any sort of an aquatic species in their line, so pretty hyped for this. So let's pop the box open and check it out. And then we've got the base for it, and you can see the base is just this little small kind of like a translucent watery area for your Megalodon to sit on, and then the Megalodon itself, and I don't know exactly how it's supposed to sit on the base. Maybe like this, I forget now. Pretty sure that's potentially the way, but it looks really cool, honestly. It definitely has a really nice appearance to it, kind of like almost like a bloody sort of a look to the face of the Megalodon here, because it has like this pinkish tone all around the face here. It looks like maybe our Megalodon was recently feeding. But outside of that, it absolutely has a really nice looking sculpt and a pretty darn nice looking paint application overall. So, as always, let's jump to a closer look at it right now. So, starting up here at the head sculpt of our Megalodon, you can see it definitely looks really nice. Sculpt-wise, you've got a gorgeous sculpt, some pretty nice fine detail, you know, on something that should have some nice smooth skin. I think they've added about as much detail as you could possibly fit into the sculpt here of the Megalodon. You can also see, again, as I was stating earlier, we have like this pinkish tone here kind of running through, and that just kind of gives me the feeling of potentially, again, the Megalodon recently feeding. I just feel like that's what they were going for as far as that goes. We've got a really nicely painted eye, nice glossy black there, definitely shining quite realistically. You can also see the nostrils, but it almost looks like this nostril may be injured, because if you come over here, you don't see that pinkish tone there within the nostrils, but over here you can see that we've got kind of like a pink in there, almost like it's an injury. On top of that, we've of course got an articulated jaw, and as you can see, it actually opens very nicely, very smooth. And then inside the mouth, you've got quite the array of teeth for your Megalodon. They're all sculpted pretty nicely, painted pretty nicely. We've also got a pinkish tone for the inside of the mouth, as well as a reddish wash seems to have been added in there. And you can see as you move back through the course of the inside of the mouth, it all has a very nice, very highly detailed appearance to it, and kind of a little bit of a satin shine in there as well, which definitely helps to give it a nice dose of realism. As you move through the course of the body, as far as the coloration goes, you can see we've got a nice grayish tone. You can also see a white here for the lower part, but you can see some slightly alternate tones of gray, like I feel like it darkens a little bit here, and you'll see that as you move through the course of the model. You can also see some very dark spots have been added here and there, and that just adds a little bit more extra color variation to the figure. One thing though that is pretty obvious is there's a seam that kind of runs up and over the top, basically where they connected that part of the head, and it's sort of obvious, you know, not too bad, but definitely obvious enough that we could take notice to it. As you move back here into the gills of our Megalodon, you can see that the gills have been painted out with a nice pinkish tone, which looks really cool. You can see a little bit more of that pinkish tone running down here, but specifically within the gills, it does look really nice as far as that pinkish application of the paint goes. As you continue to move through, you see some very nice structure to the Megalodon, and you see some really nice fine detail, very fine skin texture, which looks great. You can see the paintwork looks good through the entire figure. As you move through, you can see again really abrupt transition, but pretty much as you would expect when it comes to a species like this, and the again, coloration you might expect for it. You've got the darker, kind of spots and stuff moving through, again, that lighter tone there, and the sculpt of that fin looks really good. Nice creasing right there as the fin reaches the body as well. As you lead up here into the dorsal fin, again, you see pretty much the same style of paintwork as you saw in the lower fin there, again with the spots and stuff, and you continue to see that pretty much same style of paintwork through the course of the body. The spots seem to kind of run along the transition here between the gray to the lighter tone for the most part, but you do see the occasional spots up here moving through the course of the Megalodon as well. But as you continue to lead back, again, the sculpt looks really nice. You've got more nice looking paintwork as you lead all the way out to the tail fin of our shark, and again, you can see some nice looking, very fine detail as you lead out toward that tail fin. And a nice curve in the body here as well. If you look at it from up above, you can see how the Megalodon is definitely swimming along. You've got a really nice, elegant curve as you lead out, and even to the tail itself, you can see it curving, which looks really, really nice. As you move along the underside of the Megalodon as well, again, some more really nice paintwork down here. You don't really notice it so much when you look at it from the side, but once you come down here, you can actually pick out some variation of color. It's not just a bright white. There's actually some almost like light yellows and stuff that you could see picking up here and there as you move through the course of the underside of the Megalodon, which is really cool. And again, some of those grayish tones run down here to the undersides of the fins as well. And then when we turn our Megalodon around, we take a look at it from over here. You can again see the head sculpt looks pretty much the same as we had seen on the initial side, again with that sort of pinkish coloration there moving through the course of the lower part of the face. And then as you lead down into the gills, you can again see the pinkish tones there within the gills. One thing though that's a little iffy on this side of mine compared to the initial side is the fact that it almost looks like maybe this pinkish coloration was applied with a wash, and you can see kind of like a big, almost like a square of it where it's been applied. And you can see like a really abrupt transition of that pinkish tone right there. I didn't notice that over here. You can see it's a lot smoother on that side and not super smooth on this side. Odds are that's probably just something that's limited to mine. I can't see that being a widespread issue, but it is something that is a little bit of a slight downside for the figure on this side. But again, it is still a really nice looking Megalodon, and as you move through, again, you can see the sculpt continues to look fantastic. The paint continues to look fantastic, and definitely they did a great job as far as pretty much everything you can see on this Megalodon. And again, great sculpt, great paint. I was not worried at all about a Haolonggood paint job, so that's something that instantly when you are getting a Haolonggood figure, I think you can put those worries to rest, because their figures always look exactly like the prototype that you see, and that is definitely the same case here for the Megalodon. I think it looks really nice, again, in pretty much every aspect. And then, of course, we've got the base, and the base is basically, like I said, just kind of like some waves. We've got a bluish coloration to it, very nice translucent look. Not really a whole lot to go over as far as the base goes. Definitely adds a pretty cool appearance to the model. Definitely gives it a really nice display, and looks pretty cool overall. Something I haven't really seen when it comes to a Megalodon figure like this before. You normally don't get a base, and if you do, it would be like the PNSO version where you basically have a little stand to hold it up. But this is definitely a little bit different than that, so I do like this idea. Definitely really quite cool of Haolonggood to kind of think outside the box. So after reviewing the promo images from Haolonggood, it almost seems like it's your preference as far as how you want to display it on the base. It's basically however you can fit it on there, because you can do it that way. You can do it where it's a little bit higher up like that, and I've also seen it in their promotional images where it's kind of displayed like this. I'm not sure which way I like it. I actually think I might like it this way the best, but it is pretty neat that it gives you different choices, different options as far as how you want to put it on the base. As far as a size goes for our Megalodon, lengthwise from the snout to the tail, about, and get it in a good spot, you're looking at a little over, maybe like a 1/16 over 8 1/4 inches, so about 8 5/16, or around the 21 centimeter area. And then the highest point would probably be the tip of the snout, just shy of about 3.5 inches or a little over 8.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon from the Mattel Jurassic World toy line next to our Haolonggood Megalodon, and you can see it's a pretty decently sized figure. By no means is it massive, but it definitely has a pretty okay size to it regardless. Definitely one of the bigger Haolonggood figures we've had, but obviously not quite as big as you get with the Apatosaurus or the Spinosaurus or even the Carcharodontosaurus, but still pretty decently sized. As always, we've got a few Mattel comparisons, as we have a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus here next to the Megalodon as well. And then a size comparison between the Haolonggood Pseudoceratops and Haolonggood Megalodon, which you can see definitely a pretty decent size difference, but they're not too far off overall, just a lot more length on the Megalodon. Then when it comes to a Megalodon comparison, we have the Collect A version here next to the Haolonggood version, which you can very clearly see the Collect A version is quite a bit larger. We've also got the smaller, more recently released Megalodon from PNSO next to the Haolonggood version, yet again for a comparison. And the final one is the Papo version, and you can see there is a pretty similar size between these two. The Papo version might be a little bit smaller than the Haolonggood version, but overall, they are very similar in size. So if you do have the Papo version, you'll have a pretty good idea of the size of the Haolonggood version. So this brand new Haolonggood Megalodon is definitely another nice figure from them. You know, they did a very good job on this, and it's super exciting to see an actual aquatic species enter the Haolonggood line. I can't say I'd be lying if I didn't kind of expect it to be something like a Megalodon, because it's probably one of the most popular species, you know, when it comes to aquatic animals out there. You know, everybody loves a good Megalodon, so, you know, if they were going to dive into aquatic species, I'm not shocked that it would be a Megalodon, but I am going to keep my fingers crossed that we get other aquatic species from them, especially when it comes to their track record of creating some pretty obscure dinosaurs. I could only imagine what sort of aquatic species, you know, they could create when it comes to different obscure species we maybe don't have very many figures of. But again, sculpt-wise, it looks really nice. They've definitely added some nice sculpt and detail to it. Pretty much as much detail as you could expect to add onto a Megalodon. I think the only thing that could have maybe added a little bit more realism to it could have been an injury or two here and there, which I didn't pick up on, but that's not to say that they may not be there. I may just not have really seen it, except for that one nostril, which could have been an injury, but at the same time, I feel like maybe that was just some of that pinkish tone that they applied to the mouth to sort of give it that look of feeding that crawled into the nostril there and sort of highlighted it, but who knows. Regardless, again, the sculpt does look really nice naturalistic pose. I like the paint application as well. Definitely some really nice natural tones of color. Pretty much how you would expect a Megalodon to look when it comes to the coloration, and it's all nice and naturally applied for the most part. The only thing paint-wise that's a little bit iffy on mine is the pinkish coloration on the right side of the head around the gill area. Doesn't look super smooth, which is a little bit of a change of pace for Haolonggood because they always deliver great paint apps, but there was just one little mishap on that side. Again, I don't think that that's any sort of like a widespread issue, just something that's probably limited to mine. Especially because when you go to the other side of the head, the paint apps are super smooth in that area over there. I do like the look of the pinkish tone in the face. I kind of think that, again, the idea of a Megalodon feeding or has maybe recently fed and the sort of blood around the face definitely looks cool, something that you haven't really seen with Megalodon figures very often, so I do like that aspect of it. And the articulated jaw is always fun on top of everything. I personally am definitely a fan of articulated jaws on figures like this, so definitely a plus in my eyes. The base as well is pretty cool. Again, nothing overly amazing, but it looks neat and definitely helps to add a little bit of a presence to the Megalodon and also a pretty cool display. So as a whole, it's a neat figure, honestly. I definitely recommend picking it up, especially if you are a Megalodon fan. It's a very cool figure to add to your collection. So if you are interested, I will include a link in the description to where you can grab this from Lana Time Shop, because that is exactly where I purchased mine. So check those links, go grab this Megalodon, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.